Can a believer have a demon? Can they be demonized or demon possessed? Well, today we're going to be talking about that in this very short clip taken from a much longer podcast that me and my friend Rob did for the Babbling Pastor podcast. Now, our Patreons already have access to that whole video. If you want that, you can join with the link below. But if you don't want to join, you can watch these small sections come out, this being one of them. The other one's linked in the description of this video. Check this one out and let me know what you think. Let's go to Matthew chapter 10. This is going to be the next one we go to. Matthew chapter 10, verses 5 through 15. Now, this is a text that, Rob, you've actually already mentioned when we were talking about Judas. Because Judas is presumably here with... I'm sorry. I just need to stop muting it and just leave it unmuted the whole time. So this is Matthew chapter 10, starting at verse 5, says this. These 12 Jesus sent out, instructing them, go nowhere among the Gentiles and enter no town of the Samaritans, but rather go to the lost house of Israel and proclaim as you go, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the leopard, cast out demons. You received without paying, now give without pay. And then it goes on obviously further. Isaiah's point here, and specifically in the video that I'm referencing that I'm getting these verses from, that he's saying that Jesus specifically sends the disciples to cast out demons out of God's people, because this is, when he says the house of Israel, go proclaim saying, and then they're supposed to heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the leopard, cast out demons. So he's connecting the fact that the house of Israel is the people of God, the casting out demons meaning the people of God can have demons. And then he overlays that on the New Testament church to mean the same thing. So now the people of God, you need to heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the leopard, cast out demons. I always find it interesting that casting out demons isn't hard. The raising the dead part, that's super hard. So
yeah, right. Yeah. I would probably, those seem both fairly out of reach for me. I think that the phrase lost sheep is really the whole thing here. And he's not saying necessarily, so this is their target audience. This is who they're going on behalf of. What that doesn't mean is that the particular sick, the particular dead that are raised, the particular lepers that are cleansed, and that the particular people who have demons cast out of them are those lost sheep. The message that accompanies those miracles are for the lost sheep, and certainly of the house of Israel. But I mean, even if we're talking about Peter and them go to a person who is one of these lost sheep of the house of Israel, and they cast a demon out of that person. Lost is an important word there.
Yeah.
They're not goats. They're sheep, but they're lost sheep. They aren't found sheep yet.
Yeah.
Right. So short version is these are not Christians.
Yeah.
So no matter how you slice and dice that, this is no different than a guy like me from my theological perspective saying we go evangelize the lost. We go evangelize people who because what we're doing. So I'm clearly at this point in history, everyone knows I'm a Calvinist.
They're very clear. There are people in the comments that hate that too, but yes.
Yeah, well, they'll live through it. Providentially. So this is like us saying God is or we go evangelize because we don't know who the sheep are and who the goats are. We don't know what that looks like. We don't know who someone is the way that God does. And so we evangelize everyone, right? Lost sheep would be, in my opinion, would be those who are going to come to the faith, but who have yet to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this is a Mary Magdalene, right? Like that kind of thing. So I don't see how you could come up with what they come up with here, I guess is
No.
the short
Well,
way to say
again, I
that.
think, to say it for the 50th time, if someone is listening to this podcast all the way through and not in the broken up by verse things that were episodes, but I've said this 1,000 times, I'll say it probably even more, is that when you approach it with a hermeneutic that the scripture demands that you approach it with, then you're going to see, first of all, just the overarching story here that's happening. I mean, by the time we're here, we're already in Matthew 10. You're going to see, again, you're going to pick up the words that what you've already talked about, the lost house of Israel. You're going to pick up the idea of what are they doing? Well, they're going to the lost house for why? To proclaim the kingdom is at hand. How are they going to demonstrate the kingdom is at hand? By these things that happen, and they're going to go do these things just because they've been given it. So now go do it. And so within that understanding, like you said, I think you really, really have to work at this idea that these are followers of Yahweh, like just in the traditional Jewish sense, right? This is the same sort of concept that we talked about when we talked about the synagogue passage. Like, it's very likely these Jews that they're going to are probably going to synagogue. Probably, I mean, they've been taught the Torah, so they know of who Yahweh is. They would claim Yahweh probably, even if they're Hellenistic Jews, they would claim Yahweh in some shape or form. And so he's going, yeah, but go to them proclaiming the kingdom of heaven that's coming, that this kingdom they've been told about, this Messiah that they've been told is coming. Tell them that the kingdom is at hand. And there's this, just like we see in Acts, there's this accompanying of signs as a demonstration of that kingdom for them because they need that. Some of these verses, like this one, like you said, are just confusing. Like why you would use this as your proof text,
Right?
For why Christians can be demonized.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. To make that point specifically, right? This makes no sense to use this for that. And it like it's such butchering of the text. Like you have to take it so far beyond what it's saying, or in this case, I think you actually have to scribble out a few words to attempt to make your point. And I like they have already done this enough that that they're not trustworthy, right? And I think that's the difficult thing, right? Like if this is how you use the scriptures, and every one of the scriptures that we've covered thus far in this journey here, they've I mean, not just missed an application, but completely changed the meaning of the text to something that no one would ever come up with as the meaning of the text. And so in that instance, like, stop teaching.
Yeah.
Stop speaking authoritatively about anything.
So I do want to interject here. Not that this will happen, because I would just like to publicly say, as I've already said, I sent Isaiah a message about the video I made about it, never got a reply. So I don't have any expectation that he will actually respond to this. But I think I can speak for you, Rob. You can speak for yourself clearly in a minute. But I think probably Rob would be more than happy to sit down and go through these verses with you to pick your brain more about why you think these are accurately representing your position, because they don't seem to. Like, it's one of those things where, and I think we covered this when we covered the Alexander Pagani and Mike Signorelli video, is that, especially with Pagani, he talks so fast and jumps to 1,000 different verses that it's hard to peg him down, instead of saying, okay, just stop here though. Like, just stop on this verse. Yeah. Show me in this section how that makes your point. And that's what I would really encourage anybody that holds any position to do. Like, All right, fine. This is one of your proof texts. Great. Let's work through it. Like, I got an hour. Let's do it. Like, let's work through this and see, does this actually say what it says? Because anybody can say this verse, this verse, this verse proves my point.
Mhm. Yeah.
And one of the reasons I wanted to do this is because, look, I am more than happy to change my mind on things if they can be proven in scripture. But if you give me verses and then I work through those verses and it clearly says the opposite of what you're saying, how am I supposed to take you seriously is my point. And so, like, I'd be more than happy to sit down, not even publicly. I could care less if it's videotape. I just,
Right.
to,
Yeah.
to say, like, where do you get this from the scripture when you're looking at it exegetically? And like you said, to your point as well, like, if you can't handle scripture correctly, I have a real problem with you teaching people a doctrine that can't be backed up by the handful of proof texts that you've literally said these are the ones that I would go to. So just to say that, I do want to interject that here. So
Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely be willing to do that, with the understanding ahead of time that that we're not going to do the jump around,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
I'm not interested in doing that, because then you actually get nowhere. And this is what we have to do with issues like Calvinism and Arminianism, or like eschatology, which is hugely debated, or this.
Well, there's a
You
reason that Mike Winger has an 11-hour video on women in ministry. It's not because he wanted to take 11 hours.
Right. It's oh my gosh, that's insane. Um, that, but um, that's not something that's productive, right? So if your idea of a conversation is, let's just jump all over the place, no. What I want to do is work through, like, say, Matthew 10 and this bit here, or whatever, or the Luke 13:10, or Mark 7:24, or whatever it is. Work through these, and at one at a time, and exegetically, using original language and all the things. Um, uh, can you use this one anymore, right, or not? Um, and if not, then you should commit to not using this one anymore, right? Like,
Yeah,
I think
it's fair.
that's an important bit, right? If even if you walk away with two verses that you still, after we talk through it or whatever, that you still kind of feel like, oh, this is still in the clip, right? We can still fire these couple of rounds off. Um, great, right? But some of these are so ludicrous, and outside of what anyone's understanding has been, of these texts, that I think you got to stop using them. I mean, just and so, like, I would be perfectly willing to have conversation with anybody. But we're not going to do the jump around and dance around it so you can still use those texts at the end of the day. I want to know definitively, is that what that means here? And if it's not, then you should commit to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's just honest Bible study. I mean,
Right. I
I
agree.
mean,
Yeah.
approach the text, look at it through, a hermeneutic that it demands to be looked at through, and then exegete the text as it needs, as it has given you leading to do. I mean, there's reasons that it's like that. So you made it to the end. Congratulations. Look at you being a champion, doing that. Sticker for you. Hey, if you enjoyed that, make sure you leave it a like, a comment, or even share it with somebody if you think they'll find it helpful. And we'll talk to you next week with another short section discussing the topic, can Christians have demons?